Welcome everybody. As you're coming in, please use the chat and rename yourself. So use the chat to say where you're from, rename yourself to indicate your role if you're a parent, a professional, how old your child or children are. If you want to say something about whether they had a stroke or brain injury. And we'll get started very soon. In the chat, you can say where you're from. Welcome to our swimming event for pediatric stroke and brain injury education. So I'm Mara Yale. I coordinate these educational events. Today, we're very excited to be presenting about swimming. We've had a number of topics on adaptive sports, and this is one topic that's swimming obviously can be throughout the lifespan. So I'm going to share a little bit about the educational series, and then we'll introduce our speakers for today. We have been coming together in person and online for since 2019. Our next event is going to be in November, and it's about post-traumatic stress after families have a stroke or brain injury in their family. And you can go to our website to register and to sign up for each event. These are just some pictures from an in-person event we had in May, and it was so wonderful to get back together and be outside connecting. So we hope to do that again. And we're even talking to partners in other organizations about helping them develop in-person events in their own geographic regions, because we know we've got an international group attending these sessions now. So why we're doing what we're doing is that these injuries, when they happen to children and even babies, can impact the whole lifespan. And while this picture has a lot of medical interventions, we actually want to come away and out of the hospital and support families in the journey toward living life as fully as possible. As a disclaimer, we are an educational offering here. If you have medical questions or concerns about your child's situation, please seek health care from your providers. And just a little more history, we started with in-person events in 2019. We evolved with the pandemic to offer online virtual events like this one. And we've now got all of them up on our YouTube channel, so you can catch up on ones that you missed. And we have a full slate set up for this year. And again, I'll put the links in the chat so that you can sign up. I'm going to stop sharing and introduce. So Patty, are you muted? Okay.
Mute.
No, mute again. I was just confused because of the view. So, so at this point, I'm going to introduce Jen Smagula, who's the mother of Chloe. We'll hear from Chloe a little bit later. We always like to start these sessions with the family perspective. And so we're going to have a mother-child pair sharing their experiences with swimming, really from toddlerhood up to 12 years old. So Jen, go ahead.
Yep. Hi, thanks, Mara. I'm Jen Smagula. My daughter, Chloe, had a stroke at or before birth and has left side hemiplegia as a result of her stroke. Chloe started swimming with Laura and Megan, who you're going to hear from later, when she was 18 months old, and continues to swim to this day. So Mara is going to bring up this quick video that Chloe and I made so you can meet my daughter, because otherwise she would have been here, but she's obviously in school right now.
Hi, my name. What do you like about swimming? What I like about swimming is it gives you a nice workout
You just have a lot of fun, like on free time, go swim with your friends.
How does it feel to be part of a swim team?
It feels really nice to be part of a swim team because you know you're not alone. You're all together doing strokes and you're clapping and cheering for all your teammates on the swim team.
In what ways do you feel like swimming has helped you?
Swimming has helped me really a lot because one of my grandparents, they have a lake house. The other, they have a beach house. And I do swim a lot up there. So it helps me, like, it really keeps me going when I'm swimming with all my cousins.
What do you remember about swimming when you were younger?
Well, I remember when swimming I was younger, I was like 18 months. And I still remember, like, playing with a toy. And I remember floaties on both my arms.
And what would you tell another child or parent who might be thinking about trying out swimming or trying out a swim team?
I would tell them it might be hard to learn, but once you get the hang of it, it'll be really fun. And I'm 12 and I still do swimming, so I think like it will really help you.
Thank you, Chloe.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I just wanted to tell you a little bit more about Chloe and our experience with swimming. So Chloe had what we thought was a normal delivery, and around 4 to 6 months, we noticed that she wasn't using her left side. So around 9 months, she had an MRI that confirmed her stroke. So this sent us into a whirlwind of doctor, therapy, and early intervention appointments. So I started reading everything I could about pediatric stroke, talking to everyone I could, and looking into all the different therapies that were out there. So for those first couple of years, we did OT, PT, and speech therapy through early intervention. We also tried hippotherapy, which is doing PT while you're riding horses. And we started to do OT, constraint therapy camps in the summer. So at some point early in our journey, we were working with an OT who mentioned aquatic PT therapy, and we found Laura Diamond in her practice. So our aquatic PT appointment started with me and Chloe both getting into the water with Laura. Early on into us working with Laura, I realized how amazing aquatic PT was going to be for Chloe and our family. Because first off, I think that swimming is one of those skills many of us want our children to learn because it's simply just an important safety issue. Second, I know I spent a lot of my childhood in the summer swimming in pools and lakes, and I wanted Chloe to be able to swim so she could have those same social experiences. Third, I quickly learned how much stretching, strength training, and endurance building could be achieved through swimming. It really is a total body workout that has so many benefits for any child, but especially our kids with hemiplegia or any type of cerebral palsy or motor challenges. And fourth, while I wasn't thinking about this when Chloe was a toddler, I came to learn about swimming as a sport that I think our kids can participate in and feel included and successful. So I'm going to come back to that in a couple of minutes. Chloe is now 12 and her swimming activity and goals have changed over time. And I think aquatic PT is the kind of therapy that can grow with the child into adulthood. So my daughter started off as a toddler where the focus was on using her left hand or her weaker hand to play with toys, to simply be able to kick with both legs, and different activities that worked on her core strength and balance. As she got into the preschool stage, the focus continued to be on her weaker side and building up core strength. But then she also focused on actually learning how to swim. As she entered into the elementary school age, Laura worked with Chloe on how to do different swimming strokes and also achieving her swimming band. Because at the pool we attend for aquatic PT, swimmers have to pass a swim test before they can swim without an adult. And this includes things like swimming 2 lengths of the pool, treading water, and being able to float on your back for a period of time. So I think Chloe achieved this around age 8 or 9. And I still remember how happy and proud she was when she was able to earn that swimming band. It was a big accomplishment and gave her a lot of more independence at the pool. It was shortly after this that Chloe had a fairly involved hip and foot surgery, which required an intensive recovery. Chloe was swimming and walking in the therapy pool with Laura before she could start walking on land. So aquatic PT was a large part of her recovery from surgery. After surgery, Chloe joined the summer swim team in our town's local swim and tennis club. She was probably around the age of 9. The swim team we belong to is a large team with a wide range of ability. There are children who only swim in the summer, mostly for fun and exercise, and then there are kids who swim year round and end up swimming in college. So I talked to the coaches beforehand, and they were supportive and flexible to provide whatever help was needed for Chloe to feel successful. Chloe's been participating on the swim team for about 3 or 4 years, and she enjoys being on the team, but it is difficult at times. There really isn't anyone else like Chloe's who has Chloe's challenges on this swim team. She's worked hard, but the reality is that she probably has come in last in every race she's competed in. As she's gotten older, it gets harder. The spread between her ability and the abilities of her peers have gotten wider. But we try to focus on her individual times or her PRs, and that's a nice benefit of swimming. You can be part of a team, but the focus is typically on your personal improvement and achievement. And overall, the team is really supportive. At a race from last summer, I still remember Chloe swimming in a 50-yard freestyle race, finishing her last half lap after most of the other swimmers had already finished. But everyone at the pool was cheering her on. And when she got out of the pool, she heard them all cheering, and she was really happy, had a big smile on her face. So I grew up competing in sports, and I think there's just so much benefit to being part of a team, the social aspects, the working with different teammates and coaches, the dealing with frustration and disappointment, and then experiencing all the excitement that comes with competition. So I would love for Chloe to also experience this, but it's definitely hard to figure out where she fits in given her physical challenges. So far, swimming has been a great option to consider if your child is looking for a team sport. So I could go on and on, but I will stop here, and I'm happy to answer any questions at the end or have folks reach out to me. But I just want to end by saying this, that, Chloe is a tween now. She's almost 13. And for those of you with younger children, I think you can relate that, for those of you with older children, I think you can relate that, it's hard finding the right balance of trying to continue to push your children to do what you think is necessary from a therapeutic perspective and keep them active, but also trying to respect their choices about what they do and don't want to do. So we take the participation in swim team year by year. But I do envision Chloe continuing with the aquatic PT, perhaps even into adulthood because of all the benefits I've mentioned. And I do think it's never too late to start a sport like swimming for those who might be considering it. And I'm also excited to hear from Mike later, because I would love Chloe to participate in his program, and we've met Mike in the past. So thanks so much for having me here today. And I'm going to turn it over to Laura and Megan.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you, Jen. Appreciate that. It's great to have a parent's perspective and also remind us of all the hard work that we did with Chloe. It's really fabulous. So can people see this PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm going to turn this over to Megan. And she's going to introduce what we do in the water in terms of aquatic physical therapy. We're with Diamond Physical Therapy Associates, and I've been working in the water for, I think, 30 years. And Megan joined my team a little bit about 1.5 years ago, and she's been amazing. And I'm going to have her introduce the concept of aquatic physical therapy, and then I'll come back and talk a little bit about our patients and show some video of them over the years.
Thanks, Laura. So my name is Dr. Megan Cohen. I, as Laura said, joined her practice a little over 1 year ago. And we specialize in aquatic physical therapy for kids and adults. But today we're going to focus on specifically our aquatic physical therapy approaches with kids and with kids with stroke and brain injury. So basically, the way our practice works is we start with a land-based physical therapy assessment in our office. We're based out of Sudbury, and our pool currently is located in Concord, Massachusetts, so just outside of Boston. First, we have a child and their parent come into our office so that we can do a physical therapy evaluation. We want to see how they move, how they walk, what types of goals and skills that they're working on in their other therapies, what types of goals and skills their parents have for them, so that we can match our aquatic therapy goals with the other therapies that they might already be receiving. So especially with our children, we're looking at tone, range of motion, strength, coordination, and things like that, so that we can specifically choose aquatic therapeutic approaches in the water that will address those specific impairments. So we're always looking for functional carryover with water-based activities. So most people at our pool watch me work in the water and they think that we are doing a swim lesson. Most of my kids that I work with also think we're doing just a swim lesson, but the parents and for any therapists that are watching me, I'm always looking at my children with a therapeutic approach, and I'm always looking at them with my PT brain. So when we're doing water safety skills, even though our first goal might be achieving water safety and achieving swimming coordination and swimming strokes, we're also looking at breath control, rhythmic breathing, ability to use both sides, ability to reciprocate movements from one side to the other. We're looking at strength of the core, we're looking at balance. So there's a lot of different skills that we are addressing in the water. And it's just so much fun to do these exercises in the water. As Chloe kind of described in her early sessions, she remembers floats on her arms and playing with toys. So we were, Laura was working with her on all different things, but to her, it was just a fun session in the water where she was learning to swim. And I'm sure that Jen kind of appreciated the carryover that sort of had onto land as well. And we see that with so many of our kids, that the water therapy is just a really fun place to do their exercises. They don't even realize that they're doing therapy. The other benefit to our pool here at the BD Center, I'm actually at BD right now, is that we do a lot of our therapy in a warm water therapy pool, which is very unique to this facility specifically. We have a large pool that's 90 degrees. So for children with tone issues, a lot of our stretching and exercises are even more beneficial because the water itself is warm, and that helps a lot with tone. And just in terms of carryover, obviously we start really basic with water safety skills, but a lot of our kids reach swimming skills that they can then transition to swim teams and community swim groups. So we have a lot of kids transition to a swim team that we actually have here at BD. As Chloe was describing, she joined a swim team outside of BD. And there are a couple of other people. Mike's going to speak specifically about his opportunity to continue swimming as a lifelong recreational and leisure activity into their adulthood. So it's a really, really cool progression and transition from therapy to recreational activity.
Okay, so I wanted to introduce you to Orion, who started in our practice when he was almost 3. At 4 years old, he transitioned to community swimming lessons. And I would like to show you some video of Orion. This is Orion when he was 4 years old. And part of what we do is teach kids, once they jump in, to turn around and get back to the wall, change directions. And this is a really important swimming skill. This is Orion when he's 7 years old, and he is almost getting ready for a swim team. But you can see that he's learning swim strokes, and he has fins on his feet. So he's learning side breathing. And when we teach side breathing, we teach it to the involved side so that the other side can support the child when they breathe to the side. The next child is Nate. Nate started when he was 3 years old. And this is a video of Nate doing upper extremity activities. You can see that We use a lot of toys. We do wall holding for safety, bobbing, coming back to the wall, holding on bilaterally. And they think it's so fun. Climbing out of the pool, which is, you know, definitely a functional goal. It helps them work in the playground, play in the playground, getting up from the floor, doing transfers and transitions. This is him swimming without fins. Remember, he's 5. And so he has a little bit of difficulty getting a breath. Megan, can you maybe mute? And then holding the bar and kicking. So again, a bilateral activity, holding the bar, working on breath control and kicking with fins. And these are lead up skills to learning how to swim strokes, but they're also addressing physical therapy goals, strengthening. So retrieving toys is always fun. He's got to have the strength in his arms and legs and breath control and safety skills to be able to recover and come back to the wall. He talks a little bit about what he likes about the pool. He loves diving for rings. Let's see. And then, just see if they'll be able to, okay. So, and this is Nate at 8 years old. And he's swim team ready. He's got bigger fins on and he's breathing to the right, his involved side, and he's able to keep going, stay afloat and propel himself and actually swim laps. He learned the crawl at this stage, and then you'll see he learned the back crawl. Taking off from the starting blocks, holding on. We use the starting blocks for strengthening, for pull-ups, for stretching, doing the back crawl with fins. And then he learned to do the breaststroke, which is a really hard stroke to learn in terms of coordination and timing. But you can see he's got the glide. And these strokes are so good for kids to be able to learn coordination of all 4 extremities and strengthening his core in all 4 extremities. So this is the butterfly. It's a little bit more challenging, but we can also do dolphin dives with the fins on. And then finally, he learned to dive with a stride dive, like the swimmers use for swim team. And then this is him very recently. He's now 13 years old, still swimming with us and still getting the benefit. You can see larger fins, doing the butterfly and swimming laps. He does a lot of swimming laps in his program, and then he'll go to the therapy pool to do stretching and agility training and balance work where he can stand up. So we divide the session in 2 with him, which is very therapeutic and also gives him a lifelong activity for swimming. We want to show you Chloe now. And this is, let me just see how I can do this, sorry. This is Chloe when she was 5 years old, and she's learning the side breathing and the use of lefty. And then again, swimming with fins, breathing to her involved side. The fins, without fins, she would not be able to get a breath. Her arms were just not that strong enough to be able to help her lift her head up and take a breath. So, but you can see that she developed that strength eventually. So this is one of the things we do for upper body strength and core strengthening. She's holding the ball, then she rolls onto her back, rolls onto her tummy. And then Rosie the Sea Trotter is very popular. It's balance and upper extremity activities. And at BD we have the play pool. Children's play pool, which has showers, fountains, and also the slide, which is very exciting for kids. So that was Chloe when she was 5 years old. Oh, we got to get out of this full screen. Sorry about that. I'm gonna, yeah. Okay. So, and then, let's see. This is Chloe when she's 8 years old. And she had already joined a swim team. This is her swim team suit. That's how we know. She's doing, this is without fins. So she's developed a lot of strength. She's doing front crawl and back crawl, and really wonderful, even without fins. And this is Chloe just a few weeks ago at 12. And you can see she's much more skilled and strong. She still uses some fins in her training, does the breaststroke, the butterfly, and front crawl and back crawl. And we work on stretching, arm placement, and coordination and breathing. That's again why swimming is so wonderful. It's the whole body. And then lastly, we have Amaya, who this video was made by her proud dad Andy, who I think is on this Zoom today. He made this video of Amaya when she was 5 years old. I had been working with her for a couple of years, I think, before that. Amaya really has developed a lifelong skill, and at the age of 10, she won a kids triathlon in the Paralympic division age group. And then at the age 11, she trains with Paralympic swimmers, and she hopes to go on to a high school swim team. At least she was hoping that when I knew Amaya. But I know she's still involved in the community, and I think another speaker here will talk about her. But this was the first time she tried to swim the length of a pool. And I was in the water with her. We're often in the water with kids. We're always in the water with kids and supporting them. And you'll see at the end of this length, she has a little bit of trouble. And it's what I like to do with kids is encourage them to do as much as they can before I reach out and help. So as long as her head is above water and she's safe, she can figure out how to recover. And that's our philosophy. We encourage kids to be independent. We want them to be ahead of their peers. And we develop a lot of self-confidence. And they find when they can do this, they can do a lot of other things in their lives. On the diving board, normally when we start kids, we're on the diving board with them, behind them, or in the water, watching out for their balance and safety. And then here we go. She takes her jump. Very brave kid. So I'm gonna stop sharing, go back. Actually, I'll go back to PowerPoint. I have to share again. Let's see. Here we go. And we'll go through these slides, and then I'm gonna turn it back over to Megan.
Awesome. Those videos are so fun. It's great to see how they progress so well through all their years, and we'll keep on videotaping. So the next time we do that, we'll have those same kids in another another few years. So these are just some general expectations on how children and how you can expect your child to progress through the water. Obviously, we look at every kid that we work with individually, and so each kid will progress at their own pace. But in general, we can start working in the water with children as early as 6 months. We often have parents in the water with us, especially that early, because there's a lot of education that we can do for parents so that they can be working with their kids outside of physical therapy as well and working on the same skills. And when they're in the water over the summer, they can be kind of practicing a lot of the things that we're teaching them. Then at about 3 years old, some kids can learn to swim and roll to their back, hold on to the side of the pool. You saw Nate doing that and practicing bobbing. We teach underwater skills, but rolling is an incredibly important safety skill. Climbing out of the pool is an important safety skill. So it uses both hands. It requires a lot of strength and core strength and coordination. So it is therapeutic to be teaching those skills. And then also safety is primary. And obviously from there, we can progress at any rate to water safety and swim strokes and swim team. So with the transition to swim team, we can pass the baton over to Mike. I just want to let people know that if you want to ask about aquatic physical therapy in your area, if you're not in the Boston area, I can connect you with resources for aquatic professionals in your area. So feel free to reach out to me. I'll put my email in the chat. And I am connected through the APTA and the Academy of Aquatic Physical Therapists. So I have a large access to networking there if you need to find a therapist in your area. And with that, we will stop screen sharing and let Mike take over for the transition to adapted swimming.
Thank you, Megan. And I think Mary have my slides up. Appreciate it. So I'm Michael Prout. To give you a little background about myself, I grew up with, I didn't have a stroke or anything, but was born with a shorter right leg, also led to some scoliosis. I also only have 3 fingers on my right arm, and it's shorter, missing a few bones and such. So grew up swimming able-bodied. So yeah, grew up swimming able-bodied. There weren't any programs that I knew about in my area, such as what Laura and Megan run. So my pipeline was kind of just the normal able-bodied pipeline, where I was the only disabled athlete at the meets I was in, and all throughout until age 16 was when I first learned about the Paralympics. So until then, I was kind of on my own, figuring things out with my family. After that, I learned that there was a lot more to swimming outside of just the able-bodied track, and was able to start down the Paralympic track, which led me to 3 Paralympic Games in Athens, Beijing, and London. So yeah, I had gone to 3 Paralympic Games. In Athens, I was lucky enough to win gold and bronze, and I was voted as the captain of the team in London in 2012. Since then, I've stopped swimming, gotten older, and transitioned to being on the deck rather than in the water, because I love the sport. I love being in the water and being around the water, and wanted to be able to help younger athletes. So although I coach able-bodied teams, my passion has always been coaching other athletes that have disabilities, or have other less normal needs, to be able to trial and error and be able to expand my knowledge by seeing different people in the water and trying new things. So in about 2015 was when Adaptive Sports New England, which I work for with Joe Walsh, we decided to start a swim team program that we run once a week. After doing that for about a year, we also realized that there was a big need for swim lessons. A lot of the athletes that we've had come through our swim lesson and swim team program have actually come from diamond therapy as well. So I may reference a few athletes too. So our swim lessons, we try and partner with the local YMCA. Right now, we partner with the South Shore Y in Quincy, and we kind of take their swim lesson model and turn it into group lessons where every athlete has an instructor. So similar to Diamond, they are in the water with the athletes. Myself and another supervisor, Mary, who has worked in swim lessons for about 30 years, will be on deck. And we provide kind of supplemental training, supplemental support to the instructors as well as the athletes. That way, the athletes are in a group. So there's 3 or 4 of them in the water with the instructors, and it's more of a community setting as well. And we focus on water safety first before we then start progressing into learning the strokes and the technique as well. Once they do have some of that technique, or if they come to us a little bit later where they already know how to swim, we have our swim team that we do on Sundays out in Wellesley. And that's generally a supplemental training. So most of our athletes actually train with their local high school or their club team, a master's team, another team during the week. And they come to us on Sundays where they can get one-on-one training specific to their needs and their abilities. So that then when they go back to their team during the week, they're able to swim with their teammates, knowing that they have their own separate focus from maybe what everybody else is. Because in swimming, one of the things I like to say when coaching athletes with disabilities is that instead of coaching the stroke, you need to coach the athlete. Everybody's a little different. So although most swim coaches on able-bodied teams have one way they coach each stroke, when you're working with a team of athletes that are in an adaptive program, you kind of need to have 4, 5, 6 different ways. So it's a lot of fun trialing and erroring with the swimmers to see what works best. And if you want to go to the next slide. Yep, so going back to the swim lessons, it is kind of based a lot of what the athletes would be doing in a diamond therapy. They're transitioning to doing that a little bit more in the swim lessons. So it is more of a focus on the water safety. We do also try and keep everything nice and balanced. So if we're working on the right side, we want to work as evenly on the left side or the other side as much as possible to make sure that the athletes are building that strength and endurance too. When they get to the swim team, we still want to keep that balance. And if they are wanting to be competitive, then we start really honing the technique in terms of how they would need to be racing. So we add starts and flip turns, the little things like underwater. So we build out the entire swim race rather than just kind of the stroke that you would do in the middle. And that allows the athletes to progress a little bit quicker while still building that strength and endurance as well. And then if you go to the last slide, I can tell you the pathway for athletes that have maybe started with diamond and then come through a swim lesson program and then are on a swim team, you know, on their local high school or club team or going on to college, and they want to also go down the Paralympic pathway. They would start generally with local meets here or wherever they are with their club team or whatever team that they're on. And then hopefully there'll be high school masters meets, things like that, championship level meets. And then they can progress to the kind of the Paralympic level, which is developmental meets. Those are meets that it could be a swimmer's very first meet. Usually they're short, kind of a timed final, short events, and it's a very low stress environment. So the athletes are able to, you know, do their first events and take it at their own pace. After you do a few of those and you get a little bit better, then you start making cut times and you can go to national meets and Can-Am meets, which we partner with Canada. So there's a larger pool of athletes available at a lot of the meets. Once you start progressing through those, then you'll be selected to teams, which you could make a team for the Para-Pan-Am or Pan-Pac games, where you might be in a village setting, or you could be on a World Series, which is something that has been implemented the last few years in Paralympic swimming or in World Para Swimming, where there is a big meet in about 5 locations around the globe throughout the year, and athletes can choose to go to one or as many as they would like, and they can build points. So it's a little bit more like a pro series that they might have in USA Swimming. Beyond that, you would go to World Championships, and then finally the Paralympic Games would obviously be the highest level of competition you could achieve. And as you get through all of those, the more competitive you become, the more support you're able to receive from the national team, from the US Olympic and Paralympic training centers, and things of that nature. So it really is starting out, you know, from the time that you're maybe 18 months old. There is a number of pathways you can choose that we'll kind of take you wherever you want to go, and even if that means going all the way to the Paralympic Games. So what we try and do at Adaptive Sports New England is provide the information so that the athletes know about these pipelines, know about these pathways, and have the opportunity to kind of sit with and think with, what their goals are. And then we can partner with them to make sure that we're following the right pathway so that we're taking the fewest number of steps, but making it the best possible experience to get towards those end goals. And so with that, I think we can maybe open it up, Mara. I think I'm all set with my slides.
Thanks so much, Mike and Megan and Laura and Chloe and Jen. We want to invite you to come on camera to support the sense of community now. And I see there are some questions in the chat. As you think of questions, please add them. I'll just transition with something that Mike ended on with these opportunities at the international level. So all of our speakers talked about like the range of opportunities from wellness goals to athletic goals. And it may depend on the person or the child which realm they end up in. All have value, right, for lifelong wellness. But for competition in adaptive sports, one of the things that I've become aware of recently is that the pathway toward international competition can be much shorter with adaptive sports than with traditional sports, because you need competition and the numbers are such that you have to sometimes travel to get that competition. So kids as young as late teens start to travel for adaptive swimming as well as adaptive other sports, which is just something that I sort of hadn't realized until recently. I think that there was a question about when to start using fins. Laura or Megan, do you want to talk about that?
Yes, I can take that. We start using fins as soon as possible. I like, we have all different kinds of fins. We use the Finny booster fins, if you want to look those up. FINNIS, and they come in a very small size and they fit on kids' feet. They're very comfortable. And so it's my belief that the fins make kids more independent as soon as possible, and it helps to strengthen their legs and develop a straight leg kick. A lot of kids develop a sort of a bicycle kick, and the fins help them feel the water. It gives them proprioceptive feedback, and it makes their kicking more effective.
Thanks. Somebody asked about the presentation. We are recording the presentation, so we will put it up on our YouTube channel along with others, and we'll let you know when it's there. Are there other questions? Or I know that the parents of some of these other kids that were featured are on with us. So if any of you want to talk about the value of swimming or aquatic PT, feel free to jump in.
So it looks like Jordan posted a question about how do we advise and support athletes through competitive lessons, often when they're being passed by others, especially when they start. I think when I talk with athletes and focus on, when they're focused on their peers that are able-bodied and not being able to keep up with them, is when I find it to be a great time to start a conversation about what the Paralympics are with them, if they're old enough to kind of understand, because then I can tell them, right now you're competed against people that may have more ability or more strength. However, we have the Paralympics where it's an even playing field. So when you go there, you're going to be racing people that are at the same level you are, the same ability. So it's going to be even. So instead of you're not able to use your legs and your peers are pushing up and doing underwater kickouts, when you get to race in competition with people like yourself, then everybody's going to be even. You're going to feel like it's a lot more competitive because you're going to not be, at any disadvantage and things like that. So I let them know that there are other options, other spots where there is even competition. There just may not be any, where you currently live at the moment. But to keep working and to get up to those to the level where you can go and compete in those meets where you're actually competitive and you feel like you can be a part of something.
Jordan, do you have more questions or?
No, I can share a little bit of context for my questions. So my child is Orion, and we are so lucky, like so lucky. Like when we were looking for things, we're like, we've struck the gold mine. Like Laura Diamond and now Megan, they're like actually here, not like everywhere in the world. Just amazing experience and expertise and being child-centric and stuff like that. So we've been really lucky. And I recall like certain times like when and prior to Laura, we had also done some like small like PT based aquatherapy at Franciscan Children's Hospital. They have like a small pool, so in infancy. So we started very young. And I remember at like some like, pool party if we're lucky to go to or on vacation, at like 3 or 4, like the fact that he was able to participate with other peers and like that social aspect was just so awesome. He wasn't, he was able to just get in the mix of things. And then being safe was like very huge on our mind. So that's been great. So recently, he seems in a lot of ways ready to join or start on the swim team. And so this is a rec swim team and it's really, really encouraging and wonderful, but there are a lot of kids and it's also far away from us, but it was definitely worth trying. And at the first time when we went a couple of weeks ago, he goes, I was like, oh, how was it? He's like, yeah, I liked it. And he's like, I made a friend, like blah, blah, blah. And he goes, I don't like being passed. And then like when I'm the last one, I can't like hear the directions that the coaches are giving and blah, blah, blah. And then I noticed in observing the sessions, I was like, yeah, he's definitely like in the mix, going after it. And then when somebody tries to pass him, he's like, and he already has trouble like staying straight a little bit, he'll like block him. And then he's trying to pass, he'll be like, and I was like, dude, it is not a contact sport, swimming. Like we need to like maybe see whether we need to have a little bit more focus on like self-esteem and being like the self is capable maybe before we do the comparison and stuff like that. So anyway, that's kind of what prompted it. If you guys have any other thoughts about that.
Jordan, since I was working with Orion recently and helping facilitate this transition, and kind of watching and observing him on the pool deck during his last one of his last team, sessions. I think one thing that was really helpful for him, and obviously every kid is going to be different, but Jen actually pointed it out also with Chloe, is that yes, focusing on self is probably the best way to sort of reconstruct the conversation, because when he was working on strokes with me, for instance, we would count how many strokes he could do in a row and then try to beat that number, or time him with a certain activity and then see if we could beat that time, or putting goals that were very achievable for him, and then the ones that were slightly out of reach, like working towards those. I think those would be great ways to kind of reframe some of his challenges, because certainly it feels a little bit, it hurts when you get passed by someone, but it's also impressive when you just swim your fastest lap, or when you just did, 3 more strokes than you could usually do in a row. So turning it back towards his achievements, I hope will be helpful.
Yeah, and I definitely tried the compassionate coaching sandwich. I was like, you know what? Like, it's really good. You got this competitive drive. Like, awesome. You already got that. But like, again, the full contact sports situation is like not a fit here. I want to also mention like, Joe Walsh, who you mentioned, Michael, has been so helpful. Orion also did adaptive sailing, which was awesome. Like whenever you guys run that program again, we're signing up. And I had a conversation with Joe about it, or just in general, as we have a very active child. And he's like, the sports stuff is really, or activity is really great also because I was thinking about, oh, how do I talk to him about some of these things? And he's like, eventually, like maybe they find more adults in their life, like coaches, teammates, who are not their parents or something, who are also like a sounding board. And I was like, that's so true too. So anyway, very helpful.
Thanks. Any other questions, or do any of the other parents want to share? Either the ones whose kids were on the video, or if you've had swim lessons in your local community and you have questions about how to orient a traditional swim teacher to your needs, I could speak to that a little bit. My kids did regular swim lessons without aquatic PT, but sometimes I had to talk to the teachers, like at the Y. I think maybe I'll invite Laura and Mike to chime in on that. Like, because Mike, you said that the program that you do at the South Shore Y is with the YMCA teachers.
Correct. Yeah. So the Y runs the program, and we are offering support, kind of as supervisors, and help with the recruiting of the athletes as well, because like you said, Joe knows a lot of people, so it's easier for us to find the athletes. But yeah, so we set it up so there's however many athletes are in the water, they each have an instructor, and then we're on the deck. And that makes it really great. Yeah.
Laura, do you have anything to add? I mean, I'm thinking of somebody who's in a community that doesn't have an aquatic PT, or it's too far to travel, and they want to work with what the resources are in the community. Do they need to have private lessons? Could they have semi-private? And if so, what do they need to be telling the swim teachers to pay attention to?
Mm-hmm. It's very tricky because in every facility there's really skilled swimming instructors, and then sometimes there's 17-year-old kids who don't have a lot of experience and compassion or awareness about kids who have differences. And so I would say that if you're looking for a swim program, I would talk to the aquatics director of the facility and make sure that your child is matched up with an appropriate instructor who has some experience, maybe in adapted aquatics, or just, years of teaching, and really try to find a good match for your child. I would probably prefer, can you guys hear me? Yes, I would probably prefer private lessons and recommend private lessons to start. And then many of our kids also do community-based lessons while they're working with us. And so again, you really need to check the environment and make sure it's going to be safe for your child and have skilled instructors. Sometimes you can find instructors in the community who have adapted aquatics experience, or maybe they're PTs, they're working in a recreational swim program. So it's worth asking about the instructor's credentials.
And to add a little bit on that, what we've found with the Y is it's hard to find a lot of people that have a lot of experience, especially if you're out somewhere a little more rural. So it becomes more important to have consistency. So having found an instructor, trying to keep the same instructor working with the athlete for as long as possible, because as you form that bond, the instructor is going to know the athlete better week over week or lesson over lesson. So then, we'll see that an athlete's worked with an instructor for 6-7 lessons, and then they come in and that instructor's sick or whatever happens, even if they started and it was a 17-year-old with not much experience, and we're providing that experience for them on the deck helps. But even after those 6-7 weeks of building that relationship, if the instructor isn't there and there's a new instructor, that instructor isn't going to be able to do as much with the athlete if they don't have the knowledge. So having consistency is certainly key.
But I also wanted to add that it might be possible as we expand our practice, which is definitely a goal, that people come into Boston for an intensive week where we could think about training parents, working with parents and children as a dyad, and then training parents how to work with their children in their home pool or home environment. So many physical therapy practices on land have that role, have that model of doing intensives. And we could certainly consider that as we begin to expand our practice. So let's keep that in mind.
Thanks. Flora, do you have a question?
Oh, sorry, my question is answered already. Sorry.
Okay. Jordan.
I have a question for Jen or other parents, especially of kids who are now a little older and busier. How do you think about at any given time what the priorities are?
Yeah, I mean, that's really hard. I mean, Chloe's 12, so I feel like for us over time, and when she was really little, I think the physical aspects of her stroke were most important to us, like dealing with the her motor challenges, her fine motor challenges, so OT, PT. But I guess for us, the transition has been more to academics, because my daughter also struggled in school with certain areas, and whether or not it's related to the stroke, who knows. But I feel like over time for us, we have made academics more of our priority, as far as she doesn't get PT and OT in the school anymore. I mean, should she? Probably, but just not wanting to pull her out of classes anymore. And I do feel like probably the social aspect of her life has taken over too. Just wanting to try to get her involved in activities in our own town that will, make sure she's connected to kids. So for us, she's gotten more involved in theater, because I feel like that's one area where her physical challenges don't impact her as much. So we've been, she's been doing more of that. But I guess it's always a balance, because I think, like I was trying to say, I still, even though she's a tween and only wants to do what she wants to do, I still feel like, therapy is so important for her, and her body's changing so much right now. She's growing so much. And, so that her tone and her tightness is really kicking in again. So I think it's hard. It's a balance, trying, like I said, trying to give her some choice in what she wants to do, but also trying to keep up with the PT and OT stuff. So swimming has been a good balance, like I said, because she gets a lot of PT benefit from it, but being part of the swim team has provided, some social benefit as well. So it's really hard. I don't have a good answer, and I feel like every year it's changing, and I really feel like I'm constantly trying to think about what best use of our time is right now, and in respecting her wishes.
So Maya, I see your question. I was just going to chime in for my child. We're actually thinking about swimming again because of a likely mild scoliosis. And so then it's well, let's help this 13-year-old realize that swimming can be a super way to minimize that and to learn to keep mobility and function. So but it's a conversation because I can't just take them, right? Like I could when they were 2 or 3 or 4. It's they've got to buy into it. So, it's like maybe we try this for a period of time and maybe we find a way to do it Sundays with Chloe and Amaya because they're now all friends. And then the social component comes with the swimming. Maya, are you able to come on camera and ask your questions so that we can?
Yeah, sure. I can do
Thanks.
that. Hi. Oh, I'm out of there. You can see me. Hi. Yeah. So this isn't really about swimming specifically. Swimming, it's really great. First of all, I love this program. It kind of changed my life in approaching my son and athletics. So thank you. So it took him a long time to get comfortable in the water, and he is now like, we are able to swim pretty regularly. He's not diving or jumping off the diving board, and he tires easily, but I would say he's a strong swimmer and can swim in the deep end. So that's just been taking practice. He doesn't have any desire to compete. It's been interesting to hear other parents talk about their kids competing against kids who don't have any disabilities because, and then how that makes them feel. And my son is really adamantly against it. Like he doesn't want to do it. And I don't want to push him, but he's been loving gymnastics. And so I feel like it probably applies to all sports, but I've just been having him do private lessons, which has been great. But I feel like he would probably love to be with other kids who, he feels good about being with. And I feel like if he was with other kids who had cerebral palsy or a stroke or something, where he could say, oh, like these kids are doing the same thing I'm doing, or they're, trying to improve this way or that way, whatever it is. But I haven't super actively sought, but I also haven't found, at least in our area, any specific programs like Joe Walsh's. There's one program, but it's bicycle oriented, and we have done things with them.
Where are you?
I'm in Berkeley.
Joe, do you want to speak to this as a broad topic if you're able to?
Yeah, let me come back on camera here for a second. Hi.
Hi, Joe. We've actually emailed a little bit in the past.
Yeah. So it is really hard. So I don't want to minimize that at all. And it's really all about the adult who is running a program or who's engaged with the programs. And so sometimes it doesn't matter which sport. I mean, it may matter to your child which sport you're doing, but from a broader perspective, if you can look and find adults or programs that are going to be supportive, then that's really the key to an inclusive environment. Sometimes there's policies at school or within a community program. Is good leadership within a community program where the leadership can affect that. But it really boils down to the coaches who are doing the hands-on work with the kids. It's kind of like what Laura was saying a few minutes ago, where at any YMCA facility or other swimming facility, there's likely to be somebody who's going to be the best person to match up with your kid. And it's the same thing with coaches or leagues or whatever. There's likely to be somebody who can make that work best. So
okay, yeah.
But I don't want to dismiss the fact that it's really hard.
Yeah, I mean, I found with at least gymnastics that he doesn't quite fit into the adaptive programs that they have. Sometimes they're more emotionally based or behaviorally based, these programs that they have. And his needs are, those are not his needs. And so then the only option ends up being this private lesson with no other kids. But I know there's other kids out there. And maybe I just need to reach out to his neurologist too, or UCSF or something, and see if they have ways of connecting.
Yeah.
How old is he?
He's 13.
Yeah, and that's hard.
Yeah.
So
I'd like to add that we get a lot of referrals from occupational therapists and other land-based physical therapists. And so maybe you could reach out to your child's land-based caregivers, the therapy team, to see if they can send you to the best people in the community, because they know, and the way we hear about the best people is through our parents. They tell us who the best people are, and through other therapists. The other therapists send people to us all the time, and so they know who we are. And I think that might be true in your community also.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually how this series started, because parents were saying to the stroke clinic at Mass General Hospital, why are we coming? What are you offering us that we're not researching and finding on our own? And so the team, and now I'm part of the team, started collecting all the resources and sharing them, hopefully in this broad way, that it's helpful conceptually, and not just for the greater Boston area, but clearly you're from California.
I actually, this summer I told the neurologist at UCSF about you guys and what you were doing, and she took down all your info. So
yeah, so, and we'd love to be in touch. Like, I was in touch recently with a group in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, who are looking to build their community there in that region. So we can also support other communities in building up resources and community. So the event we had in May, Spalding Adaptive Sports was there, as well as Diamond Physical Therapy and a few other local therapy centers offering ways to try things. And Spalding had adaptive bikes. You said you already have a biking opportunity, but they also had wheelchair basketball and other things to try. So go ahead, Jordan.
Thank you.
I wonder, another option is whether, like, one of the coaches who knows your child, like, if somebody occurs to them that they could do like a 2-on-1 session, could help.
Yeah, I'll ask. One of them definitely might. I'll ask.
Yeah,
her.
like they could have like a good handle on like the chemistry and like the interaction. And I also, because Orian's tennis instructor, his individual tennis instructor, just said that was a good next step potentially. If he, you know, if she thought of somebody who might be a good fit for him. And I think it has required that like effortful, careful production of the opportunity. And you know, like I think Michael had mentioned like the pairing of the weekly recreation and the weekend more individualized. And we found that to work really well. Like pre-pandemic, Orion was swimming with the Goldfish swim team. I mean, so not swim team, but swim lesson in his age or even past his age group, just because he had such strong foundation from Laura and Megan. Like, it's just like, that was when he's like really pushed the skill, but he got the reps in and the socialization and the confidence of being with peers. And for tennis, it's kind of trending the same way. When I asked Joe, again, like a fount of information, so lucky to be local, about like the team group dynamic, said, well, when you're trying these things, like on the group activity, really be aware of like, it's one part, how's the coach? Do they have the right approach, the right, you know, attitude, like perspective? And two, like also the group and the dynamic and the peer and the ratio. And so I go to a lot to observe like the first couple of sessions and see, is it like the right? And sometimes like we had 2 seasons where group tennis worked out really well, and then 2 seasons in camp where it really was like a disaster. And it's really a combination of those two.
Okay.
Thanks, Jordan. Lisa, your question about vision. I see that.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so my son is 13, he has left-sided hemiplegia. I noticed, and this is kind of going across the board between his like extracurricular activities and with school, is like vision cuts. He has CVI, cortical visual impairment, and I've noticed that really affects things as well. So wasn't sure if anyone had any input on that and how you like encourage a teenager to get back into sports. And I kind of am just going on with what everybody's saying. So just any input would be great.
What,
Yeah.
is CBI the same thing as a field cut? Sorry, I don't, oh no, it's different, okay.
Cortical
little
visual
different. Yeah, it's a little different. He does have cuts and stuff, but it's just so it takes a little bit longer for the picture to come through. I don't even know if he ever would have like clear vision, basically, is what I was explained.
Oh,
Let's let Joe speak to this.
Yeah, a sport, there's some solutions that can be focused on sport selection, and for kids who are at that age bracket, especially that I love track and field as a sport. Everybody thinks of it as an individual sport, but really at the school level in particular, it really builds a tremendous team environment, and it provides such a wide range of options, whether you're big and strong and want to throw the shot put, or whether you're a lightweight that wants to run distance, or a big strong sprinter. There's options for body types of all sizes, and in most schools, track and field is a no-cut sport. So there's a wide range of kids and abilities there, and a real willingness. And to the point I was making earlier about the adults, track coaches in general are very versatile and really adaptable, because they're dealing with such a wide range of sports within their individual discipline. They're oftentimes very good. So that's one thought I would have for a kid who, and there's no incoming balls, right? You can throw things, but you don't have to catch anything, and that's really important for someone with a vision impairment.
I would also like to jump in off of Joe's comment on the aquatic side of things, that a lot of the kids that I see definitely have come in with visual impairments, and we work with them in the water, and we can sometimes do help with their vision therapy using tools in the water. But if they're already at a competitive level of swimming, there are lots of different approaches to figuring out how to compete even with visual impairments. It's definitely doable. Working one-on-one with a provider who can figure out the best way for your son would be recommended. But I definitely use the water therapeutically and work with kids with CBI, as well as visual cuts, and figuring out their needs and figuring out how to best make the water accessible to them, and swimming competitively accessible to them as well.
Thanks. I think that this is a good stopping point. I want to thank our speakers again, and we will definitely put this up on our YouTube channel within the week, and look forward to seeing you next month to talk about trauma and how it affects the whole family after a traumatic event like a stroke or brain injury in a young child. Thanks again. Bye. Have a good day.